Hi, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of March 29, 2021. In terms of the stock market direction, I think that Monday and Tuesday are going to be down days. Then things may look slightly better on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday we will see another turn to down, and I think it will actually continue into the following week, the week of April 5th, which to me looks like one of the more difficult and tense week of this year. So for this week, starting from about March 21st through April 1st, and especially strongly felt perhaps next week, but still somewhat felt this week, there may be increased news or focus on the value of businesses or products related to military, weapons, sports, especially the things like fighting, racing, anything like dangerous, risky, fast cars, rockets, etc. So there may be increased news about those subjects, and or the value, like I said, of products or related businesses may go up because they are somehow maybe seen as more popular than before, or maybe there's a large weapons sale, or the price of some engine or some fancy car goes up. Then March 25th through 30th may see increased news about subjects like healthcare, pharmaceuticals, medicines, and treatments, and those may particularly be focused on treating like headaches or head injuries or injuries sustained during, again, sports or like military activities, when you sort of from being shot or cut, or things that are related to surgery, stopping, I don't know, blood loss or something like that. So something that basically needs to be applied quickly under, time critical circumstances, and particularly affecting the head. So like burns, cuts, etc. So there may be increased news about either medicines or treatments in those areas, maybe some new approaches invented, or there's just more news about more people needing such treatments. Then let's see, and the very end of March, the 29th and 30th, which is Monday and Tuesday of this week, are going to see increased news about topics like oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals again, but also excessively wet weather, just water in general, beverages, navy, shipping over water, shipping of any liquids such as, oil, shipping oil over bodies of water, pipelines that specifically have oil, etc. And there we basically, the focus of the news may be on transporting. And of course, we had this news about, I think, the ship in Suez Canal being freed or partially freed. So indeed, the focus will be on kind of making things go along, shipping them as in like the sail going through, shipping of medicines, and entering into deals and agreements to kind of ship things along. And again, either via bodies of water or of things that are either liquid themselves, such as, again, oil, gas, or just any liquid chemicals, for example, and or of, say, body of water being polluted also, unfortunately, because of, again, excessive maybe usage, and things can spill as things are being shipped. Or again, at this time, Monday, Tuesday, we may hear just again about increased sales of related products, or increased kind of news about companies entering into agreements with future expectations, of shipping such products. And on the negative side, I guess, these 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, are not the best for entering in such agreements if they're not related to, again, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, beverages, etc., because the details of the agreement may be somehow lacking some facts, or things may be misrepresented, or there may be just honest mistakes creeping in. So this time is actually better for things like creative writing, where it involves fantasy and creating things, that are not really real. But it's not as the best time, Monday, Tuesday, for noting down things that are factual, unless, again, they specifically involve, say, chemicals or things that actually are from those Neptunian domains, and therefore, I guess, can handle some of this Neptunian influence that is going to be strong Monday and Tuesday. For the US, the period from about March 1st through May 1st, and especially I guess sometime the week of April 5th, and then also later on in the year from August 24th of 2021 all the way through the end of February of 2022, we will have this kind of a long-term sort of background influence where there may be increased confusion, uncertainty, or perhaps even some either hacking, spying, or lying, or some sort of misinformation that is related to areas of like military weapons, especially Navy, as well as partnerships or agreements with international partners. And that is not so much agreements that are where US is a part of some larger organization, but sort of one-on-one agreements or partnerships with individual countries. So there may be some either miscommunication. Again, there could be unintentional error or omission, or some details are not available, or something is unclear, and it may involve, again, either weapons or, say, movements of military or Navy. And unfortunately, this time there may be either an accident, and again, this could be completely just innocent mistake, but unfortunately, it may result in, an accident, say, in water pollution, or or worse. And so there's great probability of some details not being available, or a communication lacking, or signal not received sort of on time, and this may lead to, like I said, an accident, escalation, or maybe an accident that, say, leads to water pollution. And this week, this influence is going, not this week, rather next week, as I mentioned, the week of April 5th, generally globally, I think is going to be a tense week, but for the US, there may be this particular influence of, again, concerns about either Navy or water pollution or military weapons, but again, most likely related to bodies of water or Navy specifically, or shipments over water, etc. And or it could be related to areas that are like, you can characterize as unseen threats, so maybe like bioweapons, or threats that come through, I don't know, things that are so small that you can see them, or because of some deception that, there's this veil over someone's eyes and they're tricked into something. So maybe, again, spying, hacking kind of comes to mind. And this time period, sort of, we can start, again, feeling it already now, this week, and even as early as, March 1st. But that will particularly intensify next week, and especially April 8th through 11th. And then similar vibes, and this, I guess, again, applies both globally and for the US specifically, that we may kind of experience starting as early this week, but especially intensifying next week. There will be a separate either wave of similar events or another similar sort of deja vu will come about sometime the week of August 30th, and especially like September 1st through 3rd, when again we will have increased focus globally on all things, Neptunian, gas, oil prices, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, healthcare. But also for the US, it will be a time where, again, there will be increased also focus on chemicals, pharmaceuticals, but also Navy and international agreements or partnerships, etc. And there may be some either confusion leading to potential escalations, or even an accident potentially leading to, say, a chemical spill or something along those lines, or oil spill. So for China, let's see, this is like an old prediction, let's not cover it. So then on the 31st, which is Wednesday, compared to Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday look slightly better, not necessarily fantastic, optimistic days, but rather the concerns that may bring market down on Monday and Tuesday will be alleviated on Wednesday and Thursday. So I think the market at that time may go up, and but I think it will be like a brief pause before things may get kind of again tense again on Friday, and especially the following week of April 5th. And let's see, on Thursday, April 1st, we will see beginning of this influence for the US as well. I guess it will have a global effect. So April, as well as August and December for the US, is a month where there may be increased focus on the value of US currency, changes in like fiscal policies, rates, and mortgages, loans, debt, and topics of that nature. And those, the value of US dollar, some fluctuations or some changes in financial policies may also at the same time affect the value of gold and or silver, perhaps more so gold, but I think silver will also be affected. And in April, it may particularly be felt around April 17th. So I think there was a question in one of the videos as to when to expect the changes and will it be up or down. I think that in the days preceding to April 17th, so perhaps a few days prior, by a few days I mean like maybe 5-7 especially, perhaps up to 2 weeks, but I would say the closer to the date of the 17th of April, the stronger there probably will be actually an up movement in gold and or silver, and it may have to do with US financial policy or changes in the value of US dollar. And after April 17th, I think there will be a change in the direction of gold and or silver, and in my opinion at the 17th, approximately plus minus a day or two, will be a top. Again, not 100% guarantee, but that's just my current prediction. And similar influence in the future months will occur around August 9 and then especially around December 15th of this year. So moving on to Friday. Friday, we will start having increased concerns similar to what perhaps was in the news or is in the news on Monday and Tuesday, and that will involve topics related to oil and gas. There may be some increased focus on basically either value of those items and or their transportation, sales, agreements. So gas, oil, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, beverages, navy ships, water, but also there may be increased news about either or concerns about lies or deceptions, or perhaps a report or information about some deal not being quite clear, details may be missing, or there may be confusion, and this lack of transparency is what may, I think, bring the market down. And these concerns related to either some lack of clarity among some deals, and especially related to like oil and gas, and or concerns about the value of oil and gas somehow may bring the market down both on Friday and especially the following week. So this will continue over the weekend and into the week of April 5, like I said, and probably will peak, whatever the concerns that begin on Friday, will peak around April 8th through the 11th. And if I had to pick one day next week, it will be April 9. That seems to be the most critical, where we may see a really strong market drop. For China, early April, specifically April 2nd through 5th, may see increased focus on, yet again, value sales of and transportation of oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, navy ships, etc., all of those Neptunian subjects. And particularly there may be some minor concerns about profits from those areas, and they may have to do with concerns about perhaps value of the currency of China, where perhaps there's some changes in the capacity, I guess, where, whether or not China can have the same purchasing power or make the same amount of, I guess, earnings from deals that again really are related to like navy, ships, transportation over water, oil, gas. So there may be some concerns about losing basically value in the investments in those areas, or experiencing some concerns about like the value of the currencies. And there may be some increased news and announcements related to like policies related to, say, rates, debt, loans, and some investments. So there may be some news coming up to perhaps address the concerns that the country may be feeling. And at the same time, there may also be increased news out of China about other similar Neptunian topics related more to, say, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and again, their value of related products may be seen as too high, or perhaps China's like purchasing power may be decreased. So either the value, not the value, but the ability to make profit from, say, selling some chemical or selling some pharmaceutical will go down, or perhaps there may be concerns that the value of those products that China sells goes down, but specific relationship may be with the value of China currency or with purchasing power. So some concerns about like debt rates, things of that nature. And specifically for China, April 5th could be the date, which is of course next week, Monday of next week. There may be some specific announcements out of China about some new plans that would then be aimed at improving financial stability, like of banks or financial institutions, to increase earnings, or some plans maybe clarify as far as like what will be their plans to adjust the rates or to control currency value, something like that. So this could be again either triggering event or part of triggering events, or just part of the same, I guess, global theme. But one way or the other, there's definitely something that's coming up that maybe difficulties, which there are difficult transits, especially the week of April 5 globally, but also for US and for China independently. So taking all of that together, I think next week is going to be an interesting week when definitely will be some interesting developments. So with that, I will give you a quick look ahead at April, May, and June. And for April, especially 8th through 11th, there may be globally increased news about, again, oil, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, transportation via bodies of water, transportation of anything that's like liquid, like of oil, for example, as well as excessively wet weather, floods, rains, water pollution, water erosion, and flu outbreaks. And there may also be sort of fighting or disagreements about the value of related products, like of, say, oil and gas. And because of that fighting and perhaps some concerns about prices of oil, or maybe there's like some pollution or some problem with transportation that affects transportation of oil, and again that in turn affects oil prices. But basically some either accident or some disagreements or some conflicts related to oil basically next week sometime may also affect overall mood of the stock market, and I think it will be a down week. And then a similar theme may come up later in the year. As I mentioned before, at the end of August through early September, there may be a repeated situation, or this could be a follow-up to developments of the following of week of April 5th. But for oil, just to quickly mention, the long-term trend I think will be overall up, and the long-term, like multi-year sort of a reversal point, is going to be in 2025. So then let's see, for US, April is also going to be an important month, and I mentioned there might be some tensions or concerns related to like military, navy, weapons, and there may be just some disagreements with partners. It could be just a misunderstanding, but there may be either an accident or just, again, some conflicts, and they may not necessarily be based on anything that's real, but rather just because of one party not really communicating clearly or some signal being misinterpreted, etc. But unfortunately, this might be related, or this may translate into concerns for the stock market, which again may bring market down next week. And I think that those tensions may subside globally and for the US during the week of April 12th. However, a similar mood, similar events may yet again resurface the week of August 30th. So let's see. And then for the US, April is also a significant month when we will have the beginning of a longer term transit, which initially will be felt from April of this year into like March of 2022. and especially April to September this year, and then February and March of the following year. And that will be generally, we'll see, focus on, just again as a background topic, sort of news about oil, gas, maybe like pipelines, transportation of gas and oil, oops, and then price of gas and oil, but also chemicals, pharmaceuticals, perhaps, the vaccination. All of those topics will continue to be sort of in the air, and at the same time there may be some major changes in sort of oil industry where things, the way they used to be, they will undergo really major restructuring. And again, this is not a overnight change, but like this year-long sort of development where things may be changing, where in the way that we haven't seen before in, I don't know, decades. So some really major kind of pivoting, I'm not sure into which direction, but some different way of, I don't know, either transporting oil, manufacturing things that are related to oils, just some really major long-term changes. And again, April of this year into March of the following year. But also there may be increased news, again, that's specific to the US, about all the other Neptunian subjects. So perhaps a period of excessive floods, hurricanes, water erosion, contamination, especially like fertile soils, excessive precipitation, kind of, I don't know, like a flooding of large areas. So this year, perhaps, there might be worse, and, into early spring of next year, worse than previously. And also some major initiatives related to like, again, bodies of water. So maybe like fixing or laying cable that's under the sea, or drilling things that again go underwater, or transporting things over the water, under the water, but in some new ways that involve some major sort of engineering feats, or if there was a structure that was underwater, now it's being dismantled, some really kind of long-term changes. And again, unfortunately, increased probability of bad, like wet weather, as well as just some events that are confusing or involve, again, some sort of concerns about healthcare and things like that. And finally, there may be also some concerns about companies that are somehow, they're like not service, but rather they're seen as, I guess, being in service, I guess, to the population, or contracts, governmental contracts that are based on providing services such as like police, teachers, I don't know, mail delivery. So there may be some concerns about these areas where, again, things are just kind of unclear. What is the status of those services? Are they being provided at sort of, perhaps there are errors in accounting where some money is coming in, but services are not provided, or these areas demand kind of more money because, again, there's some error, some miscommunication, misunderstanding. So basically there may be some problems with those services being provided, or perhaps, again, if say there's major flooding, obviously it's hard to provide services because there's just not enough personnel to attend to everyone, and so there are many people that need them, but there's some flood, etc., and so there may be shortages. So things of that nature, and that's kind of this long long-term background influence. So long story short, April of this year into March of next year, for the US, there may be two big topics coming up. One is concerns about like heavy damages due to excessively wet weather, floods and hurricanes, and associated water pollution and erosion, soil erosion. And also there may be some concerns about like services being provided, such as, like I said, mail, teaching, police, etc. Perhaps because, again, there's some miscommunication, somebody didn't receive their payment, there's some deceptive practices, etc., some confusion and unclarity. And finally, associated businesses such as like oil, gas companies, pharmaceutical companies, companies that deal with beverages, movie companies may experience problems, again, for the US due to some uncertain status, and or perhaps being hacked or experiencing some other distress, but of the nature that's not very easy to point what the actual source of it is. May doesn't look as bad, so May should be a relatively better month, so to speak. A little bit of a respite there, and then June again, we will have intensified influence, where we have yet again Saturn and Uranus square will begin again getting closer and become more precise. So there will be these again ongoing sort of transformations on the geopolitical scale, tensions between kind of a more like real liberal progressive ideologies and more conservative and kind of a forces favoring status quo and slow developments versus like fast, kind of more radical, quick development. So there will be again tensions, kind of ideological tensions, but unfortunately, and that will pick up yet again in June, but towards the end of June and early July, so especially 29th of June through 9th of July, it's going to get really, I'd say, bad. And because we will have Mars basically joining in on the Saturn Uranus party, and we will have a T-square between those two planets in triggering especially Taurus and Aquarius. So this may affect generally, of course, any sort of geopolitical tensions, protests against government, just kind of, masses of people protesting for freedom, against something, just feeling kind of uneasy. And at the same time, with the Uranus and Taurus, it may affect financial sphere, so some increased market volatility. And at the same time, again, we have Mars joining in, and this may bring things of like protests that are escalating into violence, or some, market volatility that escalates into some really like major, panic, or just increased probability of accidents and problems with planets involved being Uranus and also Aquarius being involved. It may affect airline industries, anything to do with IT, airspace and things like that, electricity. So things either will be happening really quickly, such as sudden explosion, because again, like fireworks stored improperly, or some chemicals not being secured properly, but more so like fireworks or some weapons or something that explodes suddenly again because they weren't secured or protected or whatever. Usually just an accident. Airplane accidents, unfortunately, also at that time, end of June, early July, may kind of pick up, or some rocket misfiring, and things may occur really fast and really unexpectedly. And again, airspace, airlines, IT companies, electric car companies, and banks, finance, things that one would expect to be steady and stable. Unfortunately, that stability suddenly may be ripped sort of from underneath them, and that may happen really quickly. So I think that's about it. So trying to speak really fast here to keep this under whatever this time limit. So this week doesn't look overall that bad, except I'd say starting Friday and into next week especially, I would be careful. And that's when we may see, if indeed there's a big market drop, it would probably occur next week, especially the 9th of April. So with that, I hope you have a fantastic week, and come back, check me out later. And until then, bye.